Pam Bondi didn't walk into that hearing expecting chaos. But the moment she opened her mouth, everything unraveled. One sentence, one slip, one revelation turned the entire room silent. And it wasn't because she revealed some classified threat or exposed a major national security emergency. It was because she admitted something no attorney general should ever say out loud. I didn't realize it went to the FBI. From the nation's top law enforcement officer, those words weren't just shocking, they were explosive. In 30 seconds, she managed to reveal a level of confusion, disorganization, and lack of command that sent a chill through everyone listening.
Mr. Mervin.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Attorney General, thank you for joining us today. Our law enforcement officers, first responders, and local safety agencies are the backbone of our communities. In Northwest Indiana, I've worked hard to bring critical federal grant dollars home, funds that directly support the brave men and women who protect us every day. Unfortunately, funding for 2025 has been rescinded, weakening our public safety framework and making our neighborhoods less safe. I firsthand have a positive impact in securing dollars and investments for Gary, Indiana, East Chicago, Lake County, and Michigan City that were force multipliers that were technology such as license plate readers and the COPS grant. I'm asking you today, what can we do to ensure that those funds are going to continue to flow to my district? And in light of the HIDA, I'm in Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana. We are a HIDA district where we have the Chicago traffic. That's vitally important to my district. I just need commitments that that funding will continue to be going forward and that our agencies will have that support.
Congressman, thank you for bringing that up. I'm well aware of the HIDA. I believe that's in Maryville. Is that correct?
You are correct.
And yes, that funding will remain where it is. We do not intend on touching that funding. We want to protect HIDA.
Very good. So in light of the escalation with Iran, part of our cybersecurity and our infrastructure when it comes to our electric grid, our banking systems, that is a new threat. Does this budget reflect increasing our cybersecurity protections, and how is the Department of Justice going to protect our infrastructure when it comes to bad actors such as Iran coming directly at our infrastructure in a cyber attack?
Yeah, we have $50 million for cybersecurity, and also in the one big
With an M, 50 million?
50 million,
Okay.
yeah, but also in the one big beautiful bill, it is also addressed to give us more resources. And you know, it's not only
Can I
Iran,
ask-
as you well know, it's China as well. But
Right.
yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
In the
Congress.
reconciliation, tomato, in the reconciliation bill, can you tell me what more resources are going to go towards cybersecurity? Because I was under the impression that was decreased.
Can I get you? I will get you those numbers.
Okay. Yes.
I want to do everything I can to help you protect cybersecurity, all of us in this country, not only again with Iran, but also with China and all of our foreign adversaries around the world.
Okay. And then just a question of curiosity that I have. Director Patel was here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the emails that went to the FBI agents, meaning, please tell us what you did at the end of the week. Give us 5 reasons why you did. At first, Director Patel said that that didn't exist. Then he specifically said, well, that came from the Department of Justice to the FBI agents. And his words, I told them not to fulfill that obligation. How do you manage that if you give a directive to your director of FBI and he chooses not to fulfill that? And where did that information go? So when someone from the FBI, an agent, fulfilled that obligation of giving you the information of what they were working on, where did that data go and how is it secured?
Yeah, and Congressman, I'd be happy to see who answered that, but I asked, when I learned about it, I asked that it be withdrawn, and it was, that email.
When you learned about the email going to the FBI agents, you asked them to withdraw it. Who did you ask to have it withdrawn?
My entire office, and it was.
So it is unknown who sent that email?
Well, it came from my office, but when I learned it went to the FBI, we asked that it be withdrawn.
Where is the gap of my understanding? If it came from your office, you're telling me you didn't send it?
I didn't realize it went to the FBI. That email went out.
So-
And the purpose of that email was to make sure, just so you know, it was to make sure that these people were sitting at their desk and working and alive, that there were people actually
Okay, and
responding.
I
It
agree.
could have been, I got up and got a cup of coffee.
Sure.
That
So
was
without
the
going into
purpose.
that, the people that did answer it, where did that data go?
I will find out. I will get you that information.
And I only ask as a national security issue as
Absolutely.
they're working on sensitive issues. And I thank you for joining us, and I yield back my time.
Thank you.
Because if the person leading the Department of Justice doesn't know what directives her own office is sending to federal agents, then what exactly is happening behind those closed doors? That moment didn't come out of nowhere. It came after Congressman Frank Mervyn pressed her with a simple question, one that any well-briefed attorney general should have been able to answer without hesitation. He wasn't attacking her. He wasn't grandstanding. He was doing what Congress is supposed to do, making sure the most powerful law enforcement agency in the country is being run by someone who actually knows what's going on. And yet, the more he asked, the more tangled her answers became. Instead of clarity, the room got contradictions. Instead of leadership, it got confusion. Instead of accountability, it got a verbal maze with no exit. It all began with that mysterious email, the one that went from the DOJ to FBI agents, asking them to report what they worked on each week and provide 5 reasons why. According to Bondi, the purpose of that message was something innocent, almost laughably simple, to confirm agents were sitting at their desks and working and alive. That was her justification. She framed it as a harmless check-in, something her office sent without knowing where it would end up. But here's the real twist. She admitted the message did come from her office, yet somehow she wasn't aware it had been delivered to the FBI. That contradiction struck like a lightning bolt. How does a directive leave the Attorney General's office without the Attorney General understanding who the recipients are? Mervyn wasn't satisfied, and the public wasn't either. Because if the email wasn't meant to go to FBI agents, then who was it intended for? If she asked her entire office to withdraw it after learning where it landed, then who made the call to send it out in the first place? Her refusal to name a person, any person, left a dark cloud over the entire exchange. When she insisted the sender was simply my office, she avoided the one thing Congress needed: responsibility. A department that size doesn't operate on vague phrases like, my office. Someone pressed send. Someone authorized the message. Someone knew exactly what they were doing. And while all of that was unfolding, another problem emerged, one that Bondi couldn't explain. When Mervyn asked where the data went from the agents who did respond to that email, she didn't have an answer, not even a theory. She told him she'd find out and get him the information later, which sounds harmless until you remember what kind of data we're talking about. These weren't reports about cafeteria schedules or printer malfunctions. These were weekly summaries from federal agents handling sensitive investigations, national security threats, cyber attacks, international espionage, violent crime, and more. That data is supposed to be handled with precision. And she couldn't even say who collected it, who reviewed it, or how it was stored. If the country wasn't worried before, it should have been then. And while all this confusion was unfolding, Mervyn also raised another serious issue: cyber attacks from foreign adversaries. With Iran escalating hostilities and China constantly probing U.S. infrastructure, the DOJ plays a critical role in national defense. So he asked Bondi, a perfectly reasonable question, whether her budget reflects increased investment in cybersecurity. She insisted it did. $50 million. New resources. New protections. But then she stumbled again. She admitted she'd have to get him the numbers on the reconciliation bill because she wasn't sure whether funding had been cut or increased. She repeated that she'd help in any way she could, but the picture became clearer with every sentence. The DOJ's leadership wasn't operating with the precision the moment demanded. This isn't about a partisan disagreement or some heated back and forth on Capitol Hill. It's about basic, fundamental management. It's about the chain of command inside the Department of Justice, an institution responsible for everything from terrorism cases to political corruption, from cyber warfare to organized crime. When the Attorney General admits she doesn't know who sent out a sensitive email directive, where the data went, or what specific numbers are attached to national security funding, the message is unmistakable. Internal control is slipping. And let's be honest, this isn't an isolated moment. Over the past year, Bondi's leadership has faced growing criticism from lawmakers, watchdog groups, and even former DOJ officials. None of it has been proven as fact, but the chatter is everywhere. Reports claim there have been questions about mismanaged grants, concerns about political favoritism, and rumors that some internal decisions were made without proper review. Critics say processes seem improvised instead of structured, reactive instead of proactive. Again, these are accusations, not confirmed truths. But in Washington, perception matters. And when the Attorney General repeatedly gives answers that sound unsure, contradictory, or uninformed, those perceptions get stronger. Even in matters that should be straightforward, like renewing essential public safety funding, Bondi seemed more reactive than prepared. Mervyn came ready to talk about law enforcement resources in Gary, East Chicago, and Lake County, areas that depend on federal support. He wanted assurance that grants wouldn't be cut, and she gave him that promise. But the moment the conversation shifted to cyber threats and national defense, the certainty vanished. She stumbled, hesitated, deferred. For an official at her level, that kind of hesitation speaks volumes. It suggests a department stretched thin, scrambling for clarity, and possibly operating without a solid internal foundation. Then came the defining moment, the unraveling. Mervyn asked again who sent the email. Again she said it came from my office. Again she insisted she didn't know it went to the FBI. Again she said she asked her entire office to withdraw it. And when he pressed her about what happened to the agent's responses, she couldn't answer. She didn't even offer reassurance, just a vague promise to follow up. In that instant, the issue stopped being the email itself. It became a symbol of something much bigger, a justice system where the top official isn't in full command of her own communication pipeline, a department where directives can leave without oversight, a bureaucracy where sensitive data may be circulating without clear tracking, and an attorney general who appears to discover critical information only after Congress brings it up. That's not leadership. That's drift. And drift inside the Department of Justice is dangerous. Because DOJ isn't just another government office. It's the central nervous system of America's rule of law. When it loses coordination, everything suffers: federal cases, national security, internal trust, public confidence. If the public begins to doubt that the DOJ even knows what it's doing, the entire justice system starts to lose legitimacy. And once legitimacy slips, restoring it is nearly impossible. Bondi's defenders argue she's juggling an overwhelming amount of responsibilities, that communication breakdowns happen in every administration, that no leader can micromanage every email. And they're right, up to a point. But there's a difference between not micromanaging and not knowing. There's a difference between human error and systemic confusion. There's a difference between a miscommunication and a pattern of uncertainty. And what the country saw in that hearing didn't look like a one-time oversight. It looked like a glimpse into a department struggling to keep itself together. But the most alarming part isn't what Bondi said. It's what she didn't say. She never identified the sender of the directive. She never explained the internal process behind it. She never described how data from responding agents was protected. She never clarified who reviews sensitive communications. She never even gave a timeline for when she'd provide answers. It was an admission of ignorance without any path toward clarity. And in a world where cyber attacks are accelerating, foreign adversaries are increasingly aggressive, and domestic threats continue to evolve, the nation simply cannot afford a Justice Department operating on guesswork and after-the-fact damage control. This hearing wasn't political theater. It was a warning flare. Mervyn's questioning exposed a fracture inside one of the most vital institutions in the federal government. A fracture that didn't appear overnight. A fracture that won't heal without leadership willing to confront it directly. And whether you support Bondi or oppose her, the truth is this: the DOJ needs accountability, structure, and control, not improvisation, confusion, and unanswered questions. Because when the laws of the nation are enforced by a department that can't keep track of its own directives, what does that mean for truth? What does that mean for justice? What does that mean for the future of American democracy? These hearings matter because they reveal what's happening behind the curtain. They expose the strengths and weaknesses of our institutions. They show us the difference between confidence and chaos. And the moment we stop paying attention is the moment those weaknesses grow unchecked. If you care about transparency, accountability, and the integrity of the justice system, make sure you stay informed, stay engaged, and stay aware of how power is being used or misused in your name. If you want deeper breakdowns like this, where we cut through the noise and reveal what's really happening inside America's most powerful institutions, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Your awareness is your power. Use it.